righty, everybody, welcome to the first black city in the state of Texas. Black, hear what I'm saying? Black. Independent Heights. That's where we at now. Okay, let's ride around. In Independent Heights, it was established in 1915 by black people. This is the first spot that black people really own their own city, right here in Independent Heights. And this is how we are losing part of our history. And we're right here on the corner of North Main and East 35th. Now, Independent Heights started right here. In 1915, the blacks came out here and established their own land, and they called it Independent Heights because it was on the other side of the Heights community, which was an all-white community. Now we're going back here and show you where we at Independent Heights. And as we go down North Main and 34th Street, this is where the first courthouse used to be. Right on this corner was the first courthouse for the city of Independent Heights. And as you can see, they got it boarded off, and that was the original courthouse right there on this corner of 34th. And the address was 704 34th Street. And that was the courthouse. And the mayor, the first mayor of Independent Heights, was a man called Burgess Howell. And over here is where they built, they gave the Independence Park, which was established in 1915. But in 1908 is when they started building this property out here for blacks to buy. Not to rent, but to buy. And most of these blacks out here in the state in Independence Park, Independent City, the Heights Independent City, that's the name of it. Heights Independent City. And most of these people that stayed out here in this community was professional people. And one thing about here in Independent Heights, the city was declared a city in 1915, but they started building it in 1908. And most of the houses, and all these houses, were built by black contractors. Some of the blacks even stayed in the community that helped build these houses out here in Independent Heights. And they had all businesses up and down Independent Heights. When I say businesses, ice cream parlors, shoe shops, supermarket, cleaning and pressing, and you had all kind of other businesses, such as blacksmith. And most of the people at blacksmith, because you didn't have automobiles during them days. And all of this was considered as Independent Heights. And Independent Heights went all the way back towards Yale on one side, and on the other side it went all the way back towards Airline. And all of this was considered as Independent Heights. And when HISD came out here and built a school out here for the blacks out here, they wanted to keep the history of blacks together by having the first black high school, which was Booker T. Washington, which was once Colored High and was once out located on West Dallas, where the Allen Center is today. And they came out here in 1958 and started building on this new high school. And around 1959, they had a black high school out here in Independent Heights. And it was Booker T. Washington, right here on 39th Street. And as you can see, they have moved the historical black school off of 39th and moved it on Yale. But we're gonna ride through and show you how these houses look out here in Independent Heights when they first came out here during the 1915 to the 1940s up until the 50s and the 60s. And all of this is considered as Independent Heights. And this is how these houses was looking. Just like this house you see here. They were built to the ground. That was one of the first brick houses that they had out here. All of this was part of Independent Heights. And in the 1930s and 40s, all of these kids had to go to downtown to Booker T. Washington, or they would have to ride the bus out to Fifth Ward and go to Phyllis Wheatley in Independent Heights. And we're losing our history. You know, it's sad to say, but it is what it is. Those are one of the old houses there that have still been kept up, historical grounds of Independent Heights. Because people could get it confused like I did when I was coming up thinking it's Studewood. This is not Studewood, it's Independent Heights. Studewood don't start till you get on the other side of Airline. And right now, we on Independent Heights, North Main and 37th. These are some of the houses and how they used to look here at Independent Heights. And as you can see, black people built these houses, black constructors, and they was bought by black people. The property was owned by black people here in Independent Heights, which was the first city in the state of Texas. Now, should I say the first black city in the state of Texas? That's some of the reasons why HISD bought this property here, so they could blend in with our black history, because Booker T. Washington was a black man. As we go down Independent Heights City, I should remind you, this was a city, y'all, at one time that was operated by blacks. Even had their own black grocery stores and everything they wanted to have. 40 different businesses up and down out here in Independent Heights was owned and operated by blacks. Now, as we go down, one of the streets was East 34th, and all of this was considered as Independent Heights. All of this was part of Independent Heights that you see that we're going down here through Independent Heights, which was the first black city in the state of Texas. And it started in 1915 when it was registered through the state as a city. And blacks was all back up in this area. And all of this was considered as Independent Heights. East 38. All of this was considered as Independent Heights that you're looking at. And first of all, I'd like to say thank everybody for your support that we're doing. But let's face it, man, black folks used to giving something for nothing. Nobody have really actually showed any dedication in trying to help me to preserve this black history. But through the grace of God, I got people like Reverend Luther Walker and the Covenant of Faith that is helping me. Because nobody have donated. Now, very few people have donated. And I'm not the kind of person that begs. I don't beg for no money. Either you do it from your heart or you keep it in your bank account and you die with it. But I got to bring out this history because this is my calling. And like I say, if you can donate it, fine. If you can help me, fine, because this gas costs money. These films and things I'm doing cost time and money. But through the grace of God, Covenant of Faith is helping me, and the grace of God. And I thank Pastor Walker and all the people over there at Covenant of Faith. But if you want to donate it, something, you ain't got to donate hundreds of dollars or just $2 or $3. It's a cash app. BOO. That is $9420 BOO. I would really appreciate what I can do to get help on financing what I'm doing. Thank you. The first school opened up out here in Independent Heights was called James D. Burroughs. And Mr. James D. Burroughs was a former slave, but he was an educator. So when they named this school out here in this black community and this black city, Independent Heights, they named it James Burroughs, who was a slave at one time. All this is James Burroughs Elementary School, which was the only school out here in Independent Heights until 1959, when they moved Booker T. Washington out of Freedom Town, which was over on West Dallas, and right there where the Allen Center is right now. But before 1959, this was the only place where you could get your education. Right here in Independent Heights was Burroughs Elementary School, James Burroughs Elementary School, and it went all the way back to this street that's called 35th Street. It went from 34th to 35th, and right here on Buckers is in the back of James Burroughs Elementary School. And as you can see over on the other side of Burroughs was Independent Park. Independent Park was part of Independent Heights community and city. And Independent Park was there in 1915, and they put that park there for all the residents who stayed out here in Independent Heights. And most of the residents was more, you had a lot of upper class and middle class blacks stayed out here and bought homes and property out here. People like school teachers, people that worked at longshoremen, at the waterfront, people who worked at the railroad, and also people that worked in steel companies was all living back up in here when this subdivision, well, it really wasn't a subdivision, it was a city. My first experience coming out here to Independent Heights, and I did not know it was called Independent Heights. It was like in 1962. And the guy name was Chris Stevenson. And this is where Chris' father stayed at. Chris' mother used to rent from my mother in 3rd Ward. And I never forget my experience out here in Independent Heights. The reason why I remember the house, because in the back of Chris' yard was the railroad. And right up here used to be the Stevenson house that you see right there. But as you can see, it's tore down, remodeled, and there it is. And I could always remember because that railroad track, it was in the back of the house. And me and him would walk from his house over to the brand new Booker T. Washington over on 39th. And all of this was considered as part of Independent Heights.